All right, we are live in Boston at the PS meeting. This is Ryan McAdams, and I'm a guest host here. Ben and Daphne were kind enough to let me in, and I am with my awesome NeoMind AI team, and we're going to go around and introduce people. So we'll start with Ameena, who didn't have a headset on, but now she's putting it on. So,
I'm Ameena Husain. I'm a neonatologist at University of Utah, part of this great NeoMind AI team.
okay, and then we'll go to Kristyn.
Yeah. I'm Kristyn Beam. I'm a neonatologist at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and also part of NeoMind AI.
So we're on your turf today.
We're on my turf today. Yeah.
Okay,
And
and
my
the
town.
amazing Brynne Sullivan.
Hi, Brynne Sullivan. I'm from the University of Virginia.
And finally, we got Zach Vesuvius.
Hi, Zach Vesoulis, WashU, St. Louis.
And I said your name wrong. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
no, I go by many names.
Vesuvius.
Well, let's start out with just what happened on Friday here with NeoMind AI.
So we had our third pre-conference workshop that our group has put on. This is our third time in a row. We've brought in great speakers from all around the country and Canada, and then had our bake-off competition, our annual predictive modeling competition.
So, Brynne, what is a bake-off competition? You guys making cakes?
Well, we have to credit Zach with the bake-off term for the competition, but we divided into 4 teams, and this is the third year we've done this. We give each team a data set and an outcome to predict, and they use different modeling methods, different approaches, data exploration, training, testing, and then on a holdout data set, we score the models and reveal the results in real time after the audience votes on the model they think should win. And whoever gets the highest score and or the audience popular vote takes the cake.
And this year was unique because we used the Cosmos database,
Yes,
right?
right. The Epic Cosmos database is a large data set. We predicted late-onset sepsis in preterm infants and had almost 100,000 infants in the data set. And the teams were all very close. Team A to Z with Zach and Ameena here got the popular vote by a landslide.
But didn't win the real thing.
Oh.
But close, right?
Lost by 0.003.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a Olympic swimming event.
It was
But I think
Team Huskies won.
Huskies
Yes.
won,
That's a
right.
shout out to Eliza for winning this year.
Eliza Gensler at Connecticut Children's.
Yeah, she did a great job, and
But the teams put a
Super
ton of
impressed.
time into it. It's a very serious, I think they take it seriously, and the models, I think, showed similar ways but different ways to approach data, right?
Right. We use this as an opportunity to teach the audience about the complexities and challenges of making decisions that go into a model and exploring the data, cleaning data, and all the different factors that affect the model results.
So, Kristyn, you talked on some of your work on LLMs and a lot of how AI is kind of moving into the clinical space in the NICU. Maybe share with us just some of the, I think, things that the audience brought up or something that you want to share with kind of where we're at current state.
yeah. So I think everyone hopefully at this point has heard of ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all these different language models, and I think they're coming into our clinical space a lot more. And whether that's we're using them as part of our everyday clinical tasks to help us summarize patient notes or help us with discharge summaries, I think a new field that's worth investigating is how families are using them or how we can use these tools to communicate with families better. So I think that came up a lot from the audience of how we can use these tools to improve our communication with families, improve, our note communication with families, and just overall understand how families are accessing these tools and using them to understand what's going on in the NICU every day.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that one audience member brought up how a family dumped the whole medical record into the chart, right? And they
Yes.
could use that for diagnosis, but medical legal purposes.
Yeah, we talked a lot about the challenges of these language models, and definitely from the physician standpoint, you have to be really careful about what you're putting in these language models and making sure you're using your institution's HIPAA compliant model. But when families use these models, it's their information and they're allowed to put whatever they want in them. And that adds just a layer of complexity about what they're getting from the model and what we're able to get from the model. So in addition to just, we talked about this, in addition to just understanding what the output from the model was, I think understanding what people are putting into the model and what their questions of these language models are, because that can really direct what kind of responses they're getting.
And Ameena, you had a lot of experience in the past with Epic,
Mhm.
and many of us use Epic. And I guess, did anything stand out at the conference for just what's your background, what you are aware of with Epic,
Yeah.
and maybe like what's coming our way?
Yeah, and I think I can expand a little on Cosmos too, of like how they put that together. I think they meaning Epic, there's a lot of just the things that we talk about that are future AI, they're also thinking that. So they're already some of the solutions that I think we all think are gaps in how we use prediction tools, that company, as well as I'm sure the others, seem to be developing that. And we, as neonatology and sitting on their specialty board, are seeing previews of how that looks, especially as it applies to inpatient and acute spaces, which is a little unique and not as applicable as our current tools. So I think it's quickly going to be more and more applicable to neonatology, where it hasn't really been so far. And they're here at the conference too, talking to us about where we see the best uses. And I've already had conversations with them here, so I think it's good. They want to partner and they want to um make things that actually fit our niche, which is great.
So if we think of AI right now, so let's say you're a clinician, you could be a trainee or senior faculty. What would you say is probably the thing people should be doing today, right now, as an opportunity to kind of like incorporate AI into their life? And then you could also flip that, like, what's the thing that maybe they shouldn't be doing, or you're worried about? So kind of just the opinion of the group of like, kind of what's the good and the bad right now.
But I mean, I think the most obvious thing that we can use it as an effort extender. We can use it to do more work, especially the drudgery work, the things that are unpleasant but have to be done. But we can do it faster and probably with fewer errors. We have to divide up the clinical role versus more of our administrative or academic role. That the clinical one, like Kristyn was saying, there are lots of guardrails about what we're allowed to use these tools for, and we have to be a lot more careful than, you know, uh, for example, the session that we did yesterday, the pre-con workshop. I had to move around a couple of the speakers, and I had all the timing all sorted out. This person's going to start at this time, that person's going to start at that time, and we had to switch it around and move something by about 30 minutes. And I could have gone through and done the math on subtracting the time, but I just told Claude, redo the schedule for me and shift it by 30 minutes. And then it redid everything for me. Something that would have taken me 15 minutes took 10 seconds instead.
I think on top of that, there's some mini lab sessions this year at PAS. So far today, there have been 2, and then tomorrow there's one more. And these are 15-minute quick sessions that are giving people actually real life examples of tools that they can use and like go on their computer today and use. In my session today, we demonstrated Notebook LM, we demonstrated Gemini Canvas, and then we demonstrated Claude Code and its ability to build like an interactive app for different guidelines. So there was a session earlier, and then, like I said, there's one tomorrow, just to like give quick previews of a lot of these tools that people can just go and use today. So that would be my advice to clinicians: is pick a tool, explore it, see what it does. Like, I think interacting with these tools is the best way to really get to know them and know what they can do for you.
I think the theme of a lot of these sessions, the NeoMind group has organized is AI is here. We need to learn about it. We need to keep up and not get behind, and be at the forefront of how it's used in our practice and in medicine.
We'll do a headphone switch again here. You guys are doing awesome.
I think we were all talking about this earlier too, how it does seem like between the last 2 years and this year, we've seen so much more engagement, and that fact of AI is here, which they've been hearing. It seems like the questions are more, how do we now use this in this fashion? And it's not like questioning the AI being there, but more now, how do we tailor it? And I think the audience has grown as we have continued these sessions the last few years. It's been like a stark difference from last year.
So let's talk about NeoMind AI a little bit, because we're a group that is very hopefully forward thinking, safety, ethics, implementation, innovation, education. What are some reasons folks should pay more attention to us and maybe get involved and partner with us?
I think we're a group that, we're all neonatologists, but we accept people who are not neonatologists. So, in fact, we love to collaborate with data scientists and PhDs. Nima Agiapour is a PhD at Stanford. He's part of our group doing a lot of really cool NICU applications of AI. And so we're really interested in how we can bring this technology into the NICU and how, besides just developing new prediction models, the next steps of truly implementing it and working with industry partners and bringing it in. So I think we want to be this kind of full circle group that really brings together the researchers and then pushes forward in a really uh, you know encompassing way, pushes forward AI for neonatology.
And I think we've recently, incorporated into a more structured community, and we are now really interested in gathering our community and like working together more. So you can go to neomindai.com and find our committees and reach out to us to get connected with the subgroups that would apply best, because we are really looking ahead at the next one, 2 to 5 years of what can we really achieve together and collaborate a lot more than we have so far.
And I think this picks up on a theme that Brynne mentioned earlier, how one of our main goals is to try to stay up on this. And it's moving so fast. The number of papers that are being published is increasing exponentially. One of us alone can't do that. We can't keep up. But if we're part of a community, our own projects, our individual networks of people, the things that we see, we find cool, we can talk about and really elevate in a way that's hard for just a single person to sort through all by themselves.
Yeah, and I think each of us brings a new tool or a new method or something they've learned every time we talk to each other. So every time we get together, I learn something new about AI.
Come join us.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. All right, maybe to wrap up, anything you'd want to tell a hospital CEO about advocating for like neonatology and children and just like with AI together? Like what would a message potentially be to kind of, North Star compass enhancing care?
I mean, this is a hard challenge and something that came up yesterday during the pre-conference workshop, and something we've all talked about in the past. That there, with any technology, especially one that has a very large capital expenditure requirement, like some of these do, there's always going to be a very high barrier to adopt them, and the answer is usually a reflexive no. And so there's part of, I think, moving forward, especially from an administrative level, is finding and trusting the experts in your institution that know about this technology. It's so new. It's not something that everybody's going to have expertise in. But if you just go with a reflexive no answer, you're going to be missing out on opportunities.
I think also listen to and work with the clinicians that are staying up to date on the new tools to learn what hospitals should be early adopters on and what they should wait and adopt after plenty of validation and a little bit more time, later adopters, maybe.
And just don't forget about the NICU. It's the same tools that come in for adults.
Yeah.
They're not going to work for the NICU. So we're going to have our own conversations. So don't
So all
forget
the
about the NICU.
CEOs out there that are listening, you better talk to NeoMind AI, right?
Yes.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
And
We're here.
design things for babies first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this first. Okay. So yeah, we love kids. Thank you, Ben and Daphne, for giving us some chair time on the incubator.
Yeah.
So
This was great.
all right, look forward to next year.
See you next
See you
year.
next
Awesome.
year.
Cool.